right, good evening and welcome to the inaugural edition of the Mzansi Talkshow. Exciting times at Mzansi, going into the talk show space. So my name is Viren Ramfred. I'm a co-host with Shabazz Mohammed.
That's
Welcome,
correct.
Shabazz.
Welcome. Nice to have you here today.
Yes, it's exciting times for Mzansi. And the Mzansi League growing from strength to strength. You know, there's different kind of sectors. There's the Mzansi Premier League, there's Elite 64, and there's different tiers as well. So we're expanding into the YouTube space and podcast. And so this is a kind of a pilot episode to run and test to see how the system works. So we're going to talk about a brief preview of the English Premier League, and we've got the Conference League that's tonight, as well as the Champions League that's on Sunday. So, Shabazz, firstly, you know, we're coming off a bit of a lopsided Premier League season.
This season is, I don't know, it's unmatched in the sense that there were so many teams at the end going in for that UEFA Champions League spots.
Yeah.
Last day, nerve-wracking. You had your space already set from the Europa League final. So you guys were already comfortable on the last day. For those who were actually in it, I was part of it, so I know what it was. Literally biting your nails on the last day.
Okay, remember on this
are you gonna
platform,
make it?
I'm neutral, so I've got no allegiance to any club. Right.
No, but I mean, you can't go into who you support, anyways.
All right. So from my perspective, it was a lopsided season
Mm-hmm.
from the fact that Tottenham and Man United ended up 16th and 17th.
United actually ended up 15th. Wolves got between them.
I mean, when they played the Europa League final,
Yes.
they were 16th and 17th.
Yeah.
So it kind of indicates two things. Firstly, the strength of the Premier League as compared to the other leagues, and also the dynamic of playing a cup game as compared to a Premier League game is totally different. Tactics are different. You know, the way you set up substitutions, your squad selection, and so forth. So I think, you know, it's a different dynamic that comes to play.
Especially coming into a final.
Yeah.
When you enter a final, that game, that is a different ball game altogether. You can be playing a second division side.
Yeah.
But on that final, you're not guaranteed a victory.
Yeah.
That is the main thing.
So coming back to the Premier League, I've got to say hats off to Liverpool. You know, they were head and shoulders above everybody else.
100%.
So well deserved, but we got to acknowledge the contribution made by Jurgen Klopp in setting up the foundations. So Arne Slot, he just had, you know, the foundation laid already, and he was actually found out with the cup games, domestic cups, as well as the Champions League.
Look, in terms of the setup in the Premier League this season, I've spoken to a lot of Liverpool fans, and they said it was very boring.
Yeah.
They were so used to Jurgen Klopp's style of expansive football, that explosive attacking football, that under Jurgen Klopp, under Arne Slot rather, it was a bit boring and it was a bit safe. They called it. That was the words that we used. But at the end of the day, coming from a space where my team used to play very safe football, winning 1-0 a lot and defending, parking the bus. So that's where the term parking the bus came from. It wins you the game. It wins you the game. End of the day, the trophy is yours.
Yeah. So I think, first place was a foregone conclusion in 30 quarters way into the season. Arsenal, we got to acknowledge the contribution they have made, because Man City and Liverpool were the dominant teams the past 3 or 4 seasons. So somehow Arsenal came in there. You know, Arteta was given an extended run as a manager, finishing second for 3 seasons in a row. That's a big accomplishment. You know, we may mock and banter them,
but coming second to whether it's Liverpool or City is a very big accomplishment.
Yes.
And so, I think they came down to the last day of the season, but they comfortably got over the line in terms of the UEFA Champions League spot.
Yeah.
But going to the transfer market, I think Arsenal need to do a little bit of investment in their team in order for them to get over that line.
Because there's no kind of recognized centre forward you could say that's our reference guy.
So they did what Chelsea's been doing before Roman Abramovich left. They used Kai Havertz as the false number 9. Yeah. And that, in the sense, is where they actually fell short, because they didn't have any recognized number 9 going to actually score them goals that required them to win the games.
Okay, I believe Alexander Isak from Newcastle is one of the potential candidates they're looking at.
But okay, let me ask you, right? Newcastle just got into the Champions League. They made the Champions League. He's set in a team that knows how he plays and he's gelled with the team. Do you actually think he's going to leave there and go?
Okay, but if an offer of 100 million is put on the table, where Arsenal can take that and invested in 2 or 3 other players.
True,
You know?
true. But Isak is worth the money. Firstly,
Yeah, yeah,
Isak's worth the money. But I think 100 million a bit too much for him.
yeah.
But he is worth a good 50, 60 million, I'll say.
All right.
But since Newcastle are in the Champions League this season, I don't think they will actually want to sell him, and I don't think he'll want to leave.
All right. So I think the most exciting part about this season was the Champions League places. The top 4, top 5 finished.
There was okay. Arsenal were 50% over the line, but they were still in that race for the Champions League spot because they were just 2 points ahead of the rest. So it was Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest. There
Yeah.
were 6 teams going for 4 spots,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that was the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
Newcastle just about made it over the line, even though they lost.
They were done a favor by Man United, beating
United did
Aston
them a
Villa.
favor.
Yes,
I
yes, yes.
actually wanted, and I'll be honest with you, I wanted Newcastle to lose. The reason I wanted him to lose is because Isak.
Yeah,
I believed he deserves. I still believe he deserves to go to a bigger club.
yeah.
But in that sense, Newcastle and the Champions League, congratulations to them. So I think he'll stay for much longer than is actually expected of him.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to come back to we've spoken a little bit about the top 4 race for the Champions League, or top 5 this season, as it is for next season, 5 teams in the Champions League. What about the bottom 5?
All right. Okay, so the 3 teams that were promoted
Right.
from the Championship last season went straight down.
Mhm.
So there was Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich.
Correct.
And towards the end of the season, Ipswich were playing actually very well.
They played
So
something
Tottenham and Man
absolutely
United were actually lucky that the points difference
well.
what was that much. So I think from 13 to 20th, it was a bit tight at some point in time.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think Everton, Wolves, Tottenham, Man United, I think Crystal Palace to some extent, we're kind of in the same conversation.
It was, as you said, a lopsided season because you're seeing teams like United and Tottenham finishing 15th and 17th in the log.
Yeah,
It's something you haven't seen, I think, since the Premier League started, where such big teams finishing so low down the order. And then you're seeing teams like Nottingham Forest, who were last season's relegation candidates, fighting for UEFA.
yeah. We got to talk about Nottingham Forest because remember when the season started,
Mhm.
they were probably prime relegation candidates.
They were one
Right.
of
So
the prime
to
relegation
even
candidates, correct.
be in Champions League conversation
Mhm.
is an achievement in itself. At one stage, they were second.
Yeah.
Right. So even ending up with Conference League qualification, I think that's a fantastic achievement for Nuno and his team.
And I think they finished seventh on the log.
Yes.
Same place Chelsea finished last season and got Conference League. But
Yeah.
I think in terms of Nottingham Forest for their building for next season, personally I feel they ended up where they needed to be, not where they wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because Champions League might have been a step too far for them,
Yeah.
and in doing so they might have given up on the league to focus on the Champions League spot,
Sure.
which might have ultimately got them relegated or
Mm-mm.
in the relegation battle,
Yeah.
which you don't want to be. Conference League, you've got a chance to build your squad for the Europa League and then build yourself for the Champions League because they don't have the funds to
Yeah.
jump from Conference League to Champions League.
Now I think they did really well, and I
Mhm.
think I fully agree with you.
Mhm.
Playing Conference League may be actually a better stepping stone for them,
100%.
but in terms of the learning process, we got to mention the keeper cells and the defenses. They were very solid, and Wood very underrated. He's done
Yeah.
extremely well
He,
for Nottingham Forest.
I don't know what happened to him. On the last day, he had his bad game of the season.
Yeah,
He missed about 2 or 3 open chances, just him and the keeper ballooning over the bar. Last day of the season, I think it was the wrong time, but also the right time, as I said, because Conference League is the good place for them to be. But speaking of the Conference League, I think tonight we do have the Conference League final. And Real Betis versus Chelsea is that match. So after this, we're going to be watching that match and seeing how that game goes in terms of the final. Look, any European trophy is an achievement in itself, as Spurs have actually got their hands on a major trophy for the first time, the Europa League, getting into the Champions League next season. So looking at tonight's final, what's your prediction for the game?
Okay, it's Conference League. It's a European trophy,
Mhm.
and I think Chelsea if they do lift this trophy and they finished in top four,
Yeah.
it's going to be a phenomenal season for them. Because looking at the trajectory from the days of Mourinho and Conte,
Yeah.
with huge successes domestically, few league titles, it's been a downward spiral. Except for that Champions League title with Tuchel,
Yeah.
right? It's been downward. So coming back up, qualifying for Conference League, Pochettino has to be mentioned as well. I want to hear your comments on that.
Yeah.
He strung together 5 victories towards the end of last season that propelled Chelsea towards Conference League reckoning. So I want to ask you, Maresca's in there, right? How much of credit do you give to him? And do you think he's the long-term option for Chelsea?
Okay, so let me get into this one first. So we're going to start with Pochettino first.
Right.
So I have no problem with Pochettino as a person. He's a nice guy. He was very friendly. He was a good sportsman. The players loved him. However, he couldn't handle the pressure. And personally, I know this is just my personal opinion, he's not the man to win you a title.
Okay.
No matter which club he's been to, he hasn't won the title. I think except when he went to the French league.
PSG, he won a
PSG.
Super Cup with them.
He won the Super Cup with them.
Yeah.
But even there too, he didn't even win the league. So in terms of saying that he's not the man that's going to win you trophies on a constant basis, and I think they realized at the end of last season. Compared to this season, look, the manager came in first time round. He's got them the Champions League. He got them top four, everything that they were asking for. He's got them a European final. So we have been struggling over the recent years in terms of after the post Abramovich era, should we say. But in terms of now moving forward, this is the first season that there's actually a glimmer of hope to say that there's going to be a better season next.
Okay.
He did well at the end of last season to string in 5 victories in a row. But it wasn't enough. I think as fans, we already knew halfway through the season, no matter what happens going forward, he wasn't going to make it. But I know you would have a different opinion on him.
Okay. My honest opinion,
Your honest
Pochettino
opinion.
was never fit at Chelsea.
Okay.
Because of his allegiance to Tottenham.
Right.
So even during his press conferences and so forth, he said, I love this club. You could see that it was saying that because he was the current manager at Chelsea.
It was a conflict of interest in a sense.
Yes.
Because his heart and soul is with Spurs, and I think he did say he wants to come back to Spurs sometime in the future because he has unfinished business and stuff.
Yeah.
So his heart is with Spurs, but because his allegiance had to lie with Chelsea, it was there. But I don't think he's the man to win your trophy. I think you guys, I mean, you'll won the Europa Cup for the first time.
Yeah.
And Amanda, even myself, I think a lot of the Mzansi League Banter Club bantered you guys about Postecoglou.
All right.
So
yeah, we can get into that as a separate topic. But let's finish with the Chelsea and the Europa Conference League tonight first. Right, I did ask you whether you think Maresca is a long-term option. My prediction for the game tonight, right, expectations are that Chelsea should take it quite easily, but I think real bettors are going to take it to Chelsea. It's going to be a tight game, probably a goal, swinging it either way, similar to the Europa League final. And I expect a big performance from Anthony, the loanee from Man United, and Giovanni Lo Celso, ex-Tottenham player. Creative.
He is a doubt for tonight, but we'll wait to see. We'll have to wait for the lineups to come out.
Yeah.
But on that sense, what's your scoreline prediction?
Okay, I think Chelsea's probably going to edge it. 1-0.
1-0.
But
who's going to score the goal?
But bettors have got a chance. Probably Noni Madueke. Is Jackson back in the lineup for tonight?
Jackson is back tonight because he was suspended from the league only, so he's back tonight. I'm going to go with, I think it'll be sort of a 2-1 scoreline. A goal in it. But I think I'm going to go a 2-1 scoreline because British do have a good attacking accumulation of players there. Anthony, one of them, who's been doing really well. He's been tearing up the league since he moved from United.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. He did well at Ajax. When he came to United, the Eric Ten Hag signing, he played some good games. I think he scored on debut. And then he drifted off. And when Ruben Amorim came in, he was frozen out. And somehow when he went to Betis, he kind of revitalized his career. Sterling performances. And
completely different from his United days. But if you look at it, a lot of players that came to United faltered and then went out and started performing again.
Yeah.
Some of them may not have been scoring goals, but they have been key players in their teams. United's striker, Rashford,
Yeah.
he went out. He's only scored 2 goals since he left on loan, but he's been a key cog in that Villa team in order for them to push for the Champions League spots. And I mean,
Yeah.
they were there and thereabout for the on the last day of the season.
I think his salary is staggering or kind of resisting his growth.
That's the problem because he
So
is said to be coming back to United
yeah.
after this because of the salary reason. And I think United though need to get rid of dead weight. I'll call it dead weight for their team because the players are not fitting their system. They need to actually go out and get some players to fit Amorim's system because currently I think we saw the match earlier for the Asian team that
or the friendly game today.
that friendly game that
ASEAN,
happened.
yeah.
ASEAN All Stars 1-0. They lost again.
Mm.
And I think for the United side that's just come off the Europa League defeat, okay, they won their last game of the season. And I will put that down to the fact that Aston Villa got a red card.
Okay.
At the end of the first half, Aston Villa got a red card. United won that game and then going into another defeat. So it's not looking good for them going forward. And there has been that whole talk about firing backroom staff at United and the owners being booed off in the conference. So I think they really need to do a rebuild. But I'm going to ask you a question now. Do you think Amorim's the right man for the job?
Amorim is a fantastic coach. He did wonderfully well at Sporting.
All right.
He's come in with a method in his mind,
Mhm.
right? But transferring Anthony and even Rashford out without having a backup plan, I think that was a bit short-sighted.
It was.
Because they struggle for attacking threat. So I think in the long term, he is a medium to long-term option. So I think give him a season or two more to see whether he really fits the mold. Today's what was termed the hybrid friendly. I must look at the definition of that. So we can't read too much into that. But next season, I do foresee Tottenham and Man United back in the top 4, top 6 conversation.
I think United will do better next season because they don't have European commitments.
Yeah.
So they can solely put the focus on the league itself. Getting back into any type of European competition will be an achievement next season. Spurs, I think Spurs do need to make a few signings though to compete on all fronts. Okay. But for the Spurs team right now, who do you think they need, or which position rather do you think they need to fill up?
Okay, Spurs squad, I think the average age is 22. So it's a young, vibrant, energetic squad with lots of potential, right? So give Tottenham about 2 or 3 seasons, they're going to be a serious force to reckon with, provided they stick with Postecoglou. I think, he's won Tottenham a long-awaited trophy after 17 years. The fan base across the globe are split on Postecoglou's future. They say he's finishing 17th in the Premier League is unacceptable. But he's achieved what Mourinho couldn't do, what Conte couldn't do, what Pochettino couldn't do. Right? So I think he's got kind of a launching pad or a springboard for major success. So the areas that we need to focus on, right? Our goalkeeper Vicario is fantastic. He needs a bit more work. And we've got the Czech guy, Anthony Kinski. He's quite good as well. So we need to rotate the two guys to find the best fit for cup games and Premier League games.
Right. So I'm going to go to Lumia and say that you Ange stay.
Yes, I'm Ange stay.
You're the supporter.
I'm totally behind Ange. Right? Okay. It's not the popular opinion in our supporters club and the entire fan base across the globe is split on this one. Right? Because we've been changing so many managers. If Tottenham do get somebody new in, it's kind of pressing the reset button and starting. Ange Postecoglou has been assembling a squad, trying to play that front foot attacking football. He's got a philosophy, and it's a project. It doesn't happen overnight. Because remember, Mourinho or Conte at Chelsea, similar as well. They did bad in the first season and came back and.
But I think when you look at the Conte, for say, his style of football is not long term. Postecoglou looks like he's building a long-term plan for Spurs this season. From last season, this season, yes, he's had falters along the way. All managers have that. I mean, Maresca did that as well. From December, he was competing with Liverpool, 2 points off the top. We ended up fourth, about 15 points behind Liverpool from December, or from the end of December all the way to February. We had 2 victories in a 2-month gap. So that will tell you a lot. All managers will go through it. I think you're on the right track by saying Ange to stay. But I mean, if they do fault, it gives us a lot to banter about as well.
Yeah.
Because we're on opposite side of London right now.
Yeah. You know, surprising. I'm just thinking about it now. The last time we previewed a game, yourself and I, it was the FA Cup final. I think about 2 seasons ago. It was when Tottenham were choosing a manager, and it was between Arne Slot and Ange Postecoglou at that point in time. And they said Arne Slot, he didn't want to be micromanaged at that point in time. And I said Postecoglou is a dark horse to get that post. And that's what happened. He ended up with that post. And Slot ironically ended up at Liverpool.
So both ended up in the Premier League. Ironically, one won the Europa, one won the league. I mean, you look at it, both had successful seasons.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to ask you a question now. Spurs finished 17th, but won the Europa. Arsenal have been a consistent second team in the league. Who's been more successful?
From a Tottenham perspective, we had a few polls in our groups as well.
Controversial.
Before the season started.
Yeah.
Right. Finished 17th. I think even say finish 17th and win a title, any trophy, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, a trophy, or finish top 4 and no trophy. And believe me, most of the guys said win a trophy and finish 17th. Okay. That's how much a trophy or a title meant to the fans. Right. So fortunately, it was Europa, which propelled Tottenham into Champions League.
Yeah.
So I think everything worked out well. And somehow the number 17, reading some reports, is very symbolic because it was 17 years ago that Tottenham last won a title, 2008.
Okay.
Right. The stadium is called the N17. Christian Romero wears number 17. He was voted the Europa Player of the Match. So number 17 somehow...
I think it's been your lucky
and Tottenham finished 17th in the league. Right. So
17th.
And even the first game against Brighton, Solanke, he scored the first goal in the 17th minute. So somehow,
I think that number 17 was symbolic with you all the season.
Yeah.
A lot of 17s propelled you. The planets aligned for you for that number 17 to get into the league. But I think there was a joke going around even on the banter group as well. Chelsea are looking to change the logo to a bird now because all the teams who have the bird on the logo this season has won a cup.
Yeah.
Liverpool with the bird, Crystal Palace. I mean, Crystal Palace beating Man City in the final.
Yeah, that was totally unexpected.
That was an unexpected one because everyone expected City because I mean City is City. They were hands-on favourites to win that match, and then you get the outsiders in Crystal Palace because they've made 3 finals in recent years and haven't been able to win any of them.
Yeah. Just one point I must point out. The way Tottenham managed to win the Europa final, we had a change of plan. Because Tottenham characteristically play attacking front foot football. So I think Man United prepared for that. Right. So once we got that goal, it's a scruffy goal, would had, it was nothing attractive about the goal, but it somehow snuck in. Tottenham effectively went Conte style, Mourinho style, park the bus football.
And just defend.
I think it was 27% possession.
But you see, sometimes you've got to scrape out those victories.
You've
got to dig in, put your heels in, just sit back and defend for your life. There's a lot of teams who've done that over the years in terms of winning trophies. I know from my perspective, Chelsea won the UEFA in that sense. With sitting back and defending and getting, I think, 20% to 25% possession. The league winners, Leicester City 2015, I think Tottenham came second that season.
Third.
They averaged about 25 to 30% on the overall possession stats for the season, but went and won the league. So I think in terms of that, your ability to defend, and I think this is where Arne Slot's finally getting it right because we've criticized him for this in the past, where he's not been able to actually alter the team in terms of the situation that's currently going on.
I got to mention as well the clearance off the line from Mickey van der Ven.
Oh, yeah.
That's symbolic,
That was one of a kind.
Had that snuck in because Man United were on the front foot, that game the momentum would have totally shifted.
Because momentum was with United at that point in time. momentum was with them, but that clearance, I think, just gave Spurs that that
The
belief that
belief,
they
yeah, yeah,
needed
yeah,
to say, we've got this, because that was goal bound any day,
yeah,
any
yeah,
time, and if that man was not there, I think it was
yeah.
it.
Sure.
But I think now we actually haven't spoken about the big one though.
Yeah, the Champions
The
League
Champions League
on Sunday.
final. That is PSG versus Inter Milan. That's the big one coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, exciting times because PSG is kind of, in terms of history, they've got the dominant statistics. I'm sure you as a football analyst have got all the
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
But somehow, I think Inter Milan are playing the better all-round football. They've got a balanced squad. They've got a lethal striker in Martinez, Lautaro. So I think probably Inter Milan have got a better chance of taking this, surprising PSG. And all the Tottenham fans are eagerly awaiting the outcome to see who the opponent in the Super Cup is. So there's still a lot of interest
Okay.
in this game.
Speaking of the Super Cup, who would you prefer to face?
Okay, from kind of emotional point of view, we would prefer
emotional. You
no
can
no
go.
we would prefer PSG. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because PSG did the business over Arsenal.
Okay.
So by Tottenham beating PSG, it would be one over Arsenal
So in
for
fact,
Tottenham.
PSG actually did the one over Aston Villa,
Yeah.
Arsenal, and Liverpool in this Champions League.
Yeah, yeah,
So coming to the only team they didn't beat it in the Premier League was Man City.
yeah,
If you look at it, so I think you'll want to get one over them, and that will actually be an even bigger statement.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So PSG is a young developing squad, similar to
Yes.
Barcelona. So I think when Arsenal were playing, the bigger threat to them was always going to be Inter Milan. So I would actually, from a setup perspective, I would actually prefer PSG in the final as compared to Inter Milan at this point in time.
because remember, Inter Milan actually went to Camp Nou and scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
They drew 3-3.
Wow, that was an exciting game. Both legs.
Both
yeah.
legs, 3-3 at the end of 180 minutes, 90 minutes at home, 90
Yeah,
minutes
yeah,
away, 6-6 on aggregate. And they just edged out a very exciting Barcelona side, because
Yeah, yeah.
Barcelona, ever since their financial woes came into the picture, they've really been struggling to get a grip hold of things. And I think with the current manager that's in right now, he's really doing a good job with them to bring them back to where they are. Inter Milan, and I don't know, did you watch that match? The Inter Milan Barcelona.
Yes, yes, I did. That was gripping. I couldn't take my eyes off that.
Absolutely amazing, because I
Yeah.
think 6-6 at the end of 180 minutes, nobody expected that.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially at home at Camp Nou, Inter Milan to score 3 goals there. So I'm looking at that situation. Yes, I know these guys, PSG have Dembele and stuff, exciting footballers, put the league up, set fire to the leagues wherever they went. But I still believe Inter Milan have that grit and that desire to win it. They've come too far for them to let it go right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I also think Inter Milan's going to win this. I think you can put your comments in the comment section. Let us know what you think. We've been going on. We would also like you guys' opinion. UEFA finals, Europa final rather first. Do you think Tottenham deserve to win it? Do you think Nottingham Forest deserves Champions League for the way that they've been? Or are they in the right position, as I said, Conference League, build themselves up to Europa and then go into Champions League from there? And what is your take on this weekend's the UEFA final with PSG versus Inter Milan? 2 exciting teams that we can look forward to this weekend. And where are you watching the match this weekend? Are you at home? Are you out?
Okay, probably at the Riverside Hotel, because it's a big game. There's lots of interest from Tottenham as well, so from the Tottenham supporters. So yeah, we just got to decide, but probably at the Riverside Hotel.
Are you taking Seth along with you? He's listening to us.
All right. So I think we're reaching the end of tonight's episode.
I think we are reaching the end of tonight's episode.
Yeah. So like, subscribe, and put your comments in the column below. And we got to acknowledge Mzansi, the leadership, the management as well. Seth Naidu, the main man in charge, for driving it from a leadership point of view. Levasan, assisting him with the activities, and also Sherwin, one of the co-founders of the group as well. I didn't have the privilege of meeting him, but we did have quite a few chats over the phone and so forth. So I think Mzansi is becoming one of the leading FPL groups. I always say, if not in South Africa, in the world, very well run, and I think there's big things to come. So to Seth and his team, well done.
And speaking of the world, next week we're gonna have the number one FPL player in South Africa on the show.
Really? Wow.
Kieran,
Did we manage to get
so
get in
we
touch
did
with him?
manage to get him in touch.
Apparently, he's in high demand. He's quite
He's in
a
high demand
difficult
right
guy
now.
to get hold of.
And I think in the world, last week he was sitting number 3, but I think the managers around him had some extra chips and stuff to play with.
Yeah.
So he did end up 13, but in the world, out of millions and millions, because I've never come close to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what was.
I'm not a serious fantasy player.
Yeah.
I'm just in it for the banter and chat.
Just the banter.
So,
I think you and I are in the same boat. We're just in it for the banter. But we love to hear your opinions on it. Next week we've got Kieran in studio with us. He's going to be receiving his award, coming number 1 in South Africa and coming 13th in the world. So stay tuned. This is Mzansi FPL, the YouTube podcast.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like to know what Yurin's position in Africa is. I know you're first in KZN, first in South Africa. We just need to look up.
So I think what we'll do is next week when we've got him here, we'll have all his stats with him in the studio.
Wow, that will be fantastic. We really look forward to that.
I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it.
Okay, Shabazz, thank you for a nice inaugural chat. It's been a pleasure chatting. And thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.